Bad thing. The plot of Detective Pikachu sucks shit. It doesn't make any sense. During the first half of Detective Pikachu, things sort of, build upon the things that have happened before in a logical cause and effect sort of way. But in the second half, things just start coming at you, right and left. There's no
coherence or sense of pacing.
Sometimes things just occur and you're left stunned, like, well, I guess this is the direction that the film I'm watching is going now. Onward. And when this happens, the tone often shifts very dramatically as well. I feel like originally the script for Detective Pikachu was maybe like 3 hours long or something, because there are elements of, like, the script that feel as though they are building to something and then don't, and threads that feel like they're being woven into some tapestry, but we never get to see the tapestry, right? Like, there's a scene in Detective Pikachu where the landscape, right, like a vast swath of land, is dramatically altered, and then in like this big action set piece, and then like immediately restored to the way it was. However, in a way that implies that this dramatic alteration could happen again at any time. And this is not like ever addressed as a thing that maybe we should think about or have concern for. Like, spoilers incoming, okay? For the rest of the video, there's just gonna be spoilers, and that's just how it's gonna be. So what I'm talking about is when the protagonists end up on the back of a giant Torterra, and they don't know it's a Torterra, but then it's, oh, it stands up, oh, we're not on a mountain at all, we're on a Torterra! And then there are like 6 of them, and they all stand and like look around, and then sit back down, and it's real cool, because like when they move, it's like a literal, the size of mountains, Torterra is just like moving, and the protags are like sliding down their backs, and like trees are cracking in half and stuff. And then they sit back down, and then like the mountains are restored. But like, it is shown in the film that these Torterras became giant because they were being like experimented on, like they were the product of an experiment by the bad guys, right? But like, if that were the case, how old are these Torterras? How long has this evil, like, organization existed, in order to create, like, mountain-sized Torterras? Like, okay, did no one notice that there are now mountains where there used to not be mountains? I guess it's implied that the life cycle of a Torterra in this universe is just to, like, snooze, and occasionally stand up and look around. But, like, what if one of the Torterras gets up and takes 4 steps? That's a catastrophic event. Why is this never addressed? I'm so worried. Another thing like that is that the first half hour of this film, the protagonist, Tim is with a Pikachu who he presumes to be the partner Pokemon of his missing father, right? His father and his father's partner Pokemon went missing or died, we don't know, together. And then you run into this Pikachu and you could talk to this Pikachu. I keep saying you, but I mean Tim. I don't know why I keep saying you. Tim runs into this Pikachu and he's like, oh, it's my father's partner. And then he's talking to, like, various people throughout the first half hour of the film, during which no one is ever like, your father's Pikachu. Like, everyone always says, your father's partner Pokemon, but no one is ever like, your father's Pikachu. Oh yeah, and he's walking around with the Pikachu and has some interactions. It's like building to, like, this Sixth Sense thing, right? You're led to assume that this Pikachu is Tim's dad's Pokemon, but that's never, like, verbally confirmed for, like, the first half hour of the movie, and, like, the absence of people saying your dad's Pikachu or Pikachu is conspicuous. That would be the more natural way to refer to this Pokemon than the way that they actually do, in such a way that it's conspicuous, that you think, like, okay, they're setting up for, the reveal is going to be that Tim thinks that this is his dad's Pokemon, but actually it's not. You know, actually it's an in disguise Pikachu, or actually you know, they're leading you, it seems like they're leading you toward, oh, you're gonna find out, actually your dad's, Pokemon was a Growlithe. Where's this Pikachu come from? I mean, there's, like, reasons later on in the plot why this obviously cannot be the case. Like, it is, in fact, your dad's Pikachu, and that's just sort of like said half an hour into the film. I don't feel like I'm describing this well enough, right? Like, it's just, oh, it's real strange. And another thing, the big climax of this movie involves people switching brains with their partner Pokemon. I think because whenever this happens, of which there are like 2 very intimate instances, and, you know, 1,000 times it just happens to randos, right? Each time it happens in the film, what we see is the Pokemon body become inhabited by the human mind, and then, like, the human is moving around, like, controlling the Pokemon body. But we just see the human bodies kind of, like, fall down. Like, we don't see a human get up and be like, "Say, you know?" So it's unclear, sort of, if a brain swap is what's happening, or if it's just the human brain going into the Pokemon body, and then the human body just sort of, like, going kaput, and like, it makes sense that the Pokemon, like, that it would be a swap, right? But if that's the case, I don't think it's shown at any point, which seems like a strange thing to not depict in your film. If the climactic scene in your film is that there's an instance of brain swapping, it seems quite strange to not show the other half of that brain swapping. Maybe they do show it briefly, but it must have been so briefly that I did not notice. I'm not saying that I'm the most attentive moviegoer there is, but it seemed quite odd. Good thing, when you go see Detective Pikachu, you get Pokemon cards. They come in a pack of 2. Everyone gets a Detective Pikachu card, and then another card. I think there's supposed to be like 16 or 18 other cards, and this is a perfect setup because it facilitates trading Pokemon cards. There is a very rare and specific subatomic particle that is created when and only when 2 human beings trade Pokemon cards. So this movie really can't be commended enough for facilitating that. The night that I saw Detective Pikachu was the first time that I've traded Pokemon cards in over a decade, and it was such a nice experience. I missed it. Also, I asked the gal at the theater if I could have a second pack of cards, and she said, sure. I literally don't care. Bad thing. The acting is not great. Actually, just very inconsistent. Like, each of the characters, I think, each of the main characters anyway, have moments that are perfectly passable. But each of the main characters, other than Pikachu, I guess, have moments that I noticed were bad. And I'm not someone who notices acting almost ever. Like, if I witness bad acting, I won't, like, think in my head, like, oh, this actor is portraying a character poorly. I'll just sort of think, like, this character is sort of acting weird. Like, I never even, am hi Sesame. I'm never, hi Sesame. I'm not, like, cognizant of the fact that acting is happening, but the acting at some places in Detective Pikachu was so bad that I noticed it was bad. When the female lead is introduced, she has this set of lines where she's like, I'm Lucy something something, ace detective, I'm always on the scene looking for a scoop. And when she says this, the way she delivers it is about as convincing as the way that I just delivered it, and it's sort of amazing. And when that scene was occurring, I felt like it was set up for like a reveal to something. Like, I thought it was set up for the fact that this character is not actually a reporter, but really, like, they're like a spy impersonating a reporter. But no, she's just like a teen reporter. It's very silly. Main Kid, I think, also has like some lines. I can't remember specifically what they were, so maybe they weren't that bad. But a few things he said made me pause and be like, Although he did also deliver a very convincing, like, sad moment towards the sad part of the movie. Even though, like, when he cried, the tears came from the center of his eyeball and not from where, like, tear ducts are located on a human. I don't necessarily blame the actors for this because, like, the main girl who's like, I'm an ace reporter, always looking for a scoop. Like, I think she did the best with the material that she was given. Like, how do you make that sound reasonable? And it's not as though, I feel like... But nonetheless, that scene was alright. Oh, and some of this, like, the side characters, there's like a female
Scientist.
character who one of this scientist's lines is like, speaking into her recorder, she's like, now all that's left is to capture the world's most powerful Pokemon. And it's delivered in such a way that, like, no human would ever say these comical words. It's almost like more cartoony than a literal cartoon villain. Like, Pokemon is full of literal cartoon villains, right? But I don't know if any of them, unless it's intentionally corny, rarely do they say stuff as corny as the villains in this movie say. And I didn't feel that the corniness was necessarily intentional either. Like, when Scientist Gal is like, the world's most powerful Pokemon. Like, I didn't get the impression that that was meant to be, like, fun and campy. Like, I got the impression that you're supposed to be like, whoa, the world's most powerful Pokemon? But it's like, it's delivered in such a silly way. It's kind of, like, it verges on being delightful, but it didn't, I don't know if it quite made it. Good thing. The Pokemon designs, the Pokemon models are just beautiful. They all look just great. Seeing some of the character models, some of the renders, like, on the computer or in still shots, I was a little bit unconvinced. I didn't know if I thought that they really looked quite right. But on the big screen and in extended scenes of motion, all of these Pokemon look great. Even like in Folding Ideas Pokemon video, he was like, all the Pokemon are cute, even the ones that are supposed to be grotesque are also cute. And honestly, that's how I felt as well, which was really relieving because, like, in some of the still shots and the trailer that I watched on the computer, I wasn't sure, like, some of the ones that were meant to be cute verged on a little bit grotesque, you know, like Jigglypuff. When the first trailer dropped, everyone was like, oh, this Jigglypuff, I don't know. But really, they all look very good. And I was pleased with the range of Pokemon that they chose to depict. There's definitely some Gen 1 fetishism at play in Detective Pikachu. Like, all of the Pokemon who have very prominent roles are Gen 1 Pokemon. I think the only one who has, like, an extended speaking role who is not a Gen 1 Pokemon is a Snubbull, who's a Gen 2 Pokemon. So, like, you know. However, there's a lot of Greninjas in this movie, there's a lot of Joltics in this movie, there's a lot of Morlulls in this movie. Really delightful. Really good choices of Mon to include, and every Mon that they did include looked great. Like, the Pokemon really felt like they existed in the world that we were supposed to believe that they existed within. None of them stuck out to me as like, well, that's certainly a CG model that I'm viewing with my eyes. I can also tell that, like, I also feel like a lot of love went into the Pokemon models themselves. All of them have, like, a lot of little subtle details that really bring them into being a real creature. Some of my favorite things were the Bulbasaurs have, like, little pink details on them, on the tips of their little lips and on the tips of their ears, and I think, like, on the tips of their bulb, it's, like, pink, like a little puppy whose fur hasn't grown in all the way, and it's so charming to see. It's so wonderful. All of the fur textures look really nice. Like, the textures on Psyduck, I thought specifically at a couple of times were like, oh man, look how like fluffy and nice. What a nice little duck this is. Like, I want to pet that. I want to pet that duck with his realistically textured fur feather fluff. I thought it was amazing that all the Greninjas in this movie were, like, taller than the humans. Wonderful. excellent stylistic choice. I wish we had seen, like, more detail shots of the Greninjas. That really would have completed my life. I'm not sure I appreciated how they rendered Gengar as, like, a solid jelly boy instead of, like, an ethereal ghosty boy. Like, they definitely rendered him as an object and not, like, a smoke, which is sort of how I would think he would be. They definitely chose to make Gengar one of the gross mons, and I'm not sure how I feel about that, because in my heart, Gengar is like a round cute boy, not like a gelatinous ugly boy. But that's just my preference, and his model looks great as well. It's probably one of the better looking, like, renders in the film, if it's not one of my favorites stylistically necessarily. Loved the inclusion of, like, herds of Joltik, loved the inclusion of herds of Rattata. Very cute. Good thing. Mewtwo looks amazing. This is a separate point from the rest of the Pokemon in general looking amazing, because Mewtwo is my favorite Pokemon. Lots of depictions of Mewtwo, even officially sanctioned ones like the ones in the anime and manga, sometimes don't necessarily appeal to me, but this one did. In this one, I really appreciated that they decided to interpret him as, like, a strange genetic abnormality as opposed to, like, a Catman. I really liked how sort of unsettling and fleshy his design was. Overall, 10 out of 10. Would pay $10 to witness again. Bad thing. There are about 20 models of different Pokemon species that are reused over and over and over again. I would be shocked if you told me that there were more than 50 individual Pokemon species represented in the movie whatsoever. Cameos, anything. And there are like over 800 Pokemon! I really feel like an opportunity was missed to just have a few more species cameos. You don't need to render a full high-def 4K model of each one. Just, like, put a Voltorb in the background. Put a Metapod in the background. In the shadow, you know, you don't have to fully render each, but I would have liked to see more than just Pikachu, Psyducks, Growlithes, and Bulbasaurs all the way through. Like, I really do feel that part of the appeal of Pokemon is that there are so many of them. There's one to suit every need. If you like anything, there's probably a Pokemon that is made for that, for you. There's a Pokemon species for any desire. And it seems like a shame not to take a fuller advantage of that, because it's one of the most unique charms of Pokemon. There's almost 1,000 of the suckers, and every single one of them is someone's favorite. And for the people whose favorite Pokemon is one of the 20 that are overrepresented in Detective Pikachu, good for you, you're the best. I mean, my favorite is Mewtwo, so I can't say nothing. Good thing. The first several minutes of Detective Pikachu changed my life and improved my credit score. The first few scenes are just, like a scene with Mewtwo, and then a scene panning over a landscape, and there's various Pokemon. And these two scenes are so wonderful, so beautiful, so lovingly crafted, in a way that really captures, like, the wonder, like, the hope of Pokemon. Like, oh, look at this vast world full of wonderful creatures. I would pay $9 again just to go see the first couple minutes of Detective Pikachu. For those two scenes, I was sitting in the theater with, like, the biggest shit-eatingest grin that any human has ever had. And it was glorious, and because of that, like, say that I disliked... I couldn't... No matter what happened after that, I couldn't say that I disliked this movie. Here's how we fix Detective Pikachu. We take all the scenes with people out. It's just Pokemon now, 100% Pokemon. There you go. 10 out of 10. Great movie.
What kind of Pokemon are you? How do you deep inside. What kind of Pokemon are you? Are you going through?